Let's now move to the latest on the Senzo Meyiwa murder trial now. Advocate Malesela Teffo's special plea for a trial within a trial has been dismissed. Judge Chifiwe Maumela ruled the cross-examination of the first witness in the trial into the footballer's murder must continue. Meyiwa shot dead at the family home of his girlfriend singer Kelly Khumalo in October 2012. NCS Lindela Masikane was in court. She joins me now with all the details. Good evening. So, Advocate Teffo was not successful, and this is about the confessions made, apparently I think by 2 of the 4 accused that he's representing, that actually admits to the murder. Tell us about it.
So you would remember that on Friday already we had an indication from Advocate Malesela Teffo that he plans on bringing formal papers in terms of his request for a trial within a trial. This morning, before cross-examination could begin, we saw Advocate Teffo then once more rising to make a submission for a special plea for this trial within a trial, saying that he has filed papers for it that morning. However, of course, because he had filed them today, basically, the state prosecutor as well as the advocate for accused number 5 have not had time to respond to this particular plea. So what we saw then transpiring was the judge then requesting time in chambers to consult with counsel on the way forward. Coming back from that, we saw submissions then from Advocate Zandile Mshololo to say, look, can I just continue and finish up with my cross-examination, and then we can entertain this application. However, it's quite strange. She was saying that she requires actual protection from the court to be able to continue with her cross-examination. She says that at this point, with these said confessions not having been introduced, we don't actually have them before the court, which is what actually then informed the decision to dismiss the application. But Teffo making some interesting submissions around how these confessions were obtained, saying that his clients were basically tortured in order to confess to this crime. Let's take a listen.
We brought special plea because we are alleging that accused 1 to 4 were assaulted to the extent that the confessions were solicited out of that assault. It's not that assault that whereby one can think about slapping one. To accuse 1 and 2. They were profusely assaulted to the extent that they bleeded. Before they make the confessions by the form of affidavit, which I am in possession. My learned colleague is the state, Advocate Balo is in possession, Advocate Mshololo is in possession. Were done after the 3rd assault, GPH. Accused 1 and 2, unlike accused 3 and 4, when they were arrested first time, they were not arrested inside the correctional center like it happened with accused 3 and 4. They were assaulted, they were arrested from their respective homes, and since then they were kept at the police stations, various police stations. Whereby there will be a meal of the police. Assaulted with the tonfa, assaulted with the baton, assaulted, they were even suffocated.
So this is really interesting. Essentially, what Teffo is doing is introducing talk of confessions, which is probably what the state would have brought in at a later stage. And the judge saying, I can't deal with this now. It's not being introduced into evidence yet. So it'll be dealt with at that point.
So as soon as the state introduces these confessions and submits them as evidence before the court, only then can Judge Malesela then entertain a trial within a trial. That is when he can then hear Teffo on his arguments around having the special plea entertained.
I see. All right. So then after that, it was on with the advocate for the fifth accused, Advocate Mshololo, picking up on what happened at the crime scene. It was really interesting what she did, because she was looking at witness statements, which suggest that one of the neighbours came in and sort of saw there were all these beer bottles. Thought, let me clean this up.
Several neighbours.
Now, this is not necessarily tampering with intent, but it is disturbing a potential crime scene. I suppose the argument could be, at the time everyone thought it was just a robbery gone wrong, but still, you know the police would want to come in. So it's quite startling. And am I right, this is before the first witness, Sergeant Mosia, who is still on the stand, before he'd even arrived? Is that when this happened, allegedly?
Yeah. Quite an interesting day in terms of these witness statements obtained from neighbours on that particular evening who were there, who said that when they gained access to the crime scene before the police even arrived. They walked in, and what they noticed was that there was water on the floor. Then in particular, one of the witness statements says that they witnessed another neighbour deciding that they want to clean up the beer bottles because they don't want the police to find them there. So what Zandile Mshololo was then showing once more to the court was that, was there actually a crime scene that Sergeant Mosia arrived to, or was it actually cleaned? Putting it to the court that, look, you can see from these witness statements that before your arrival, before the police could even cordon off the crime scene, people had already gained access to it. Let's take a listen.
The police arrived at the scene and they went in the house. I can't remember who opened the house for them. They came out. I always saw the police run, and I thought the police were always in the vicinity. Later, a contingency of police arrived and cordoned off the scene with tapes.
Are ekamorao ho sebakanyana ya ba ho fihla maponesa are ha tsebe hore ke mang a ileng a bulela maponesa monyako hore ba kene ka hare ya ba ho always
and cordoned off the crime scene
always
with
run. I just can't
around the vicinity.
Ya ba ha balehwa mo ya ba ka morao ho nakonyana ho fihla hape maponesa a mang a mangata ona hana hore ana a sentse a le haufi le sebaka sa ketsahalo.
Did you hear that, Mr. Mosia? And you arrived at the crime scene after it had already been cordoned off. Am I correct?
Are ye o botsa hore wena ha o fihla sebakeng sa ketsahalo ne sentse ba kwetse ka tape ya go bontsha hona le se etsahetse. That's correctly so.
Kwase kufika ke amaphoyisa angena ngaphakathi akazi ukuthi avulelwa ubani abe ephinda ephuma ke kumela ngaphandle ke amaphoyisa yena ke ecabanga njalo ukuthi kade ekhona kuyo ndawo amaphoyisa futhi ke kuyiqiniso ukuthi ngafika ke amaphoyisa esevalile ngethepi amaphoyisa.
So do you see that, according to this statement, you arrived when the crime scene had already been cleaned?
Ho bona he hore o tshore ho fihla ha o fihlile ho sontso ho bonahala hore sebaka seo sa ketsahalo se security. I understand.
So matters wrapped at around 3, but Advocate Mshololo hasn't finished with Sergeant Thabo Mosia. I mean, he's been on the stand for ages now. Hopefully it'll wrap up quickly tomorrow. Of course, there's no guarantee, but if they do, who's likely to be the next witness?
So cross-examination, of course, continues tomorrow of Sergeant Meyiwa. We expect re-examination at some point from the state. At this point, it's really unclear as to what the state is going to present after Sergeant Meyiwa, but we are expecting more experts from ballistics in terms of how they're actually tying these accused to the gun that shot Senzo Meyiwa. But who that's going to be, we don't know at this point, but the trial continues tomorrow.
Yes, absolutely. So let's hope we get more details on exactly what happened that night. Thank you.
So lastly, Mshololo will be picking up tomorrow with the state of the people in the house in terms of their alcohol levels. She's now suggesting that statements were possibly taken from people who were drunk.
Right, difficult one. Bearing in mind at the time everyone just thought it was a home invasion.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much, Slindile Masekane. Covering the Senzo Meyiwa trial, really fascinating, and let's hope we get to some answers at the end of it all.